Patreon Q&A number 54. I want to thank all 72 of my amazing, incredible patrons. Guys, thank you so much for your continued support and all the generosity that you have shown me. It really means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough for continuing to support me the way that you are. So to everyone else, there's going to be some spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully up to this point. Free-Tshirts asks, hey Shonen, what do you think would have happened if Sonic never actually left the Hero Association during the villain meeting? Obviously, he would have tussled with Garou, but what would have been the result? Also, remember that Sitch had already called for backup when Garou took out the A-Class, so they are on a time limit before more heroes show up. Thanks again, man. So this is a good question, and I wanted to make a video about this, but I just never really got around to doing it. So, we have to remember that at this specific meeting, Sonic doesn't have his sword with him. I mean, he does have, like, cargo pockets on his skinny jeans, so maybe he has, like, some shurikens or kunais in there, but he doesn't have a sword, which is his main method of attack. So if he were to go against Garou, which would definitely be inevitable if he stuck around at this point, and I wish we could have seen that, but one knew what he was doing. He specifically didn't want them to, meet because he didn't want them to have have a conflict at that point in time, but they definitely would have gone at each other, considering that we know both of their temperaments. So I feel that Sonic is definitely faster than Hero Hunter Garou, at least in an overall speed category. But I feel like Garou definitely has the reflexes and the skills and experience to be able to counterattack Sonic. So if he was actively going after him, then yes, Sonic would likely dodge him. But I feel that like once Sonic eventually hits him, Garou's going to be able to hit him with a counterattack for sure. And I feel that Garou's going to be able to take Sonic's strikes too. Because we saw like when Sonic hit Deep Sea King, it didn't really do much. And it definitely didn't have the same kind of sting that Puri Puri Prisoner's punches and his strikes had on Deep Sea King. So I think we could scale him, at least in a physical aspect, below Puri Puri Prisoner. Because we also know that one said that if Sonic had his weapons, he would have taken out Dry Deep Sea King, as where Puri Puri Prisoner, essentially at his best at that time, couldn't really do much. So I feel like Garou would probably get the upper hand on Sonic without his weapons eventually. Like if they were to take place, if their battle was able to take place at this meeting. But they probably wouldn't have a definitive outcome because, like you said, they are on a time limit, and it's depicted in the manga. We don't really see it in the anime, but in the manga, they are at Hero Association headquarters, and we know that Darkshine is the guardian of that place. So it was probably Darkshine who was going to come down there, and if he did show up, he would have one-shotted both of them. So it's a different story, of course, if Sonic had his weapons. I have to go more in the detail and come up with a better answer at that point. But just without his weapons, I feel like Garou probably would have eventually got the upper hand on him. But it would have been very, very competitive. Alright, so Bryan and Diabetis Boi, you guys both asked the same question this week, so I will answer them together. And then I will go into your second question after this, Bryan. So, Suiryu, is he going to join the Neo Heroes, or where would I like him to go? And honestly, I want him to go to either or, the Hero Association or the Neo Heroes, but I feel like it's more likely that he's going to the Neo Heroes, and it's mainly because of the webcomic continuity. So we know that Saitama was basically the reason why Suiryu wants to become a hero in the first place. He's the one who inspired him after, everything that happened between them at the end of the Super Fight Tournament arc. And if this was in the manga, then I feel that Suiryu would join the Hero Association because he would likely want to be where Saitama is, be closer to him. Because he's like a stan of him now, and he wanted him to be his master, more or less. But considering that this is going to happen in the webcomic first, and the webcomic doesn't have the continuity of the Super Fight Tournament arc on it, doesn't have Suiryu as an already established character, as well as the development on him that came from that arc, I feel like he's probably going to be a part of the Neo Heroes. And, as to where the last time we left off with the whole Neo Hero storyline in the webcomic, it was McCoy about to introduce Child Emperor, Metal Bat, and Darkshine to all of the other members of the Neo Heroes, at least the strong ones, like the S-Class comparable ones, when they were about to go into that conference room. But unfortunately, it stopped there. So, I feel like the next time we pick up on this storyline, which I hope is soon, we're going to see who the other Neo Hero S-Class level dudes are, at least I really hope. And I have a really strong feeling that one of them is going to be Suiryu. Also, there's a good chance that he's going to come over because we just recently saw that, both Hellfire and Gale have come over from the manga to the webcomic. But just like Suiryu, they don't have the pre-established development and story that they had previously in the manga, considering that they fought Flashy Flash in the Monster Association. But now that they are a part of the story, they'll likely more or less wind up with the same place that they're going in the story, regardless of whether it's the webcomic or the manga. And I feel the same thing's going to happen with Suiryu. So more or less, he's going to wind up in the Neo Heroes. Also, one drew Suiryu in like the fashion that the webcomic has. And I think that's playing into him wanting to bring over Suiryu to the webcomic as well. Also, we've seen Sourface recently in the webcomic, and he was exclusive to the manga. Also appeared in the Super Fight tournament. So I think it's likely that Suiryu is going to come over. He's a great character, so why not? So as for your second question, Brian, my second question, what anime character would you like to see exist within another universe? Whether it be another anime, Marvel, Star Wars, etc. So I don't really have anything that like comes to mind immediately. I'm not really too keen on bringing over other characters. It's just not something that comes to me too naturally. But if I had a choice of what could happen, I want to see Goku come to another series. Like canon Goku, 100%, no BS, just he is 100% canon. He comes over to another 100% canon universe, and I just want to end this debate of how powerful is Goku compared to the other characters, because this is like something that causes constant war and just anger in the community in general. So whether he goes over to DC and fights Superman, or if he goes over to Marvel and fights, I don't know, whoever they have for him, or if he just comes over to One Punch Man and fights Saitama, I just want to see it happen. Both within their own canons competing so that the answer is definitive and we know for sure, just so this debate can end once and for all. Joseph K asks, hey Shonen, have you got any random YouTubers you enjoy watching to wind down? Recently I've discovered a medieval weapons and armor channel that's pretty cool called Shady University. See you later. So I actually have seen some of Shady University's videos. The one that I really liked from him was where he goes over Thanos' like double sword thing from Endgame. I thought that was a great video, and the way that he broke it down was really cool. I haven't subscribed to him because I'm not too much into that stuff, but he is something that I'll check out from time to time if I see one of his videos come up on my recommended. But I will throw some channels at you because I love YouTube, obviously. It's all I really watch. I hardly even watch Hulu or Netflix anymore. I'm just mainly into YouTube at this point because it's so strong. We're in such a great time for content. So I won't flood you with all of my channels that I watch, of course, but I'll throw some out there. So Kiwami Japan. This is a super fascinating channel where this Japanese guy basically makes knives out of like random stuff. Like he recently just made a knife out of tofu, and it was super strong. He made a knife out of like milk, and the way that he goes about it and the way that he makes these videos are just fascinating. Like it's super interesting what he does. There's no talking or anything. It's just like a visual video. It's a visual storytelling. I can only describe it as fascinating. You're gonna have to watch it for yourself. And then next I like to watch Shaw Strength. This is Brian Shaw's YouTube channel. His vlogs are really interesting too. He's like one of the strongest men in the world. Like he's a strong man. He's like former 4-time strongest man in the world. But his vlogs are just super interesting because all he does is just train, eat, and work. And it's just cool to watch it. Like he eats like 10,000 calories a day and he's just lifting heavy weights all day. I mean, it's just interesting to me. And then I like Cody Co and Danny Gonzalez. These are like two commentary comedy channels. These guys are genuinely hilarious. Like they're not hacky or downright mean-spirited or just like not good the way I could say it, like the other typical commentary comedy channels. Like these guys are very talented and genuinely hilarious. They're like almost too good for YouTube. Then I like Anthony Fantano, more specifically his Fantano channel. He like daily uploads there, and he just talks about like topical stuff, and usually has an interesting take on it. Mainly music stuff, but you know, not always. And then Chris Ramsey. This guy's like a magician, but not like I don't think he's like one of the best magicians, but he's just mainly like a magician, and he focuses on magic stuff. And I'm not too much into that stuff, But his videos are just really interesting, and I like watching them from time to time. Then JonTron, I'm sure you know who he is. I feel that he's one of the best YouTubers right now. Really strong channel. I wish like one day I could get to his level with his production and just overall quality. It's so good. And then Scare Theater. This is like the only really like scary channel that I subscribe to, really, but he makes super interesting videos too. And it's not like creepypasta stuff. It's like scary actual stuff that has happened, or he'll talk about scary conspiracies or just stuff like that. And he has like a real down to earth objective viewpoint on it. Like, he won't just lie to you for the sake of like scaring you or making like something that's unbelievable seem real. Like, he'll debunk stuff, no problem. And it's just really interesting. Joshua D asks, hey Shonen, hope you're doing well. Hey, thanks Joshua, I hope you are too as well, my friend. I'm just curious, I know why I love this show, but was wondering what makes One Punch Man so important to you as an anime. So this is a good question, and it's just really strong. It's just super well made and so well done, especially compared to like its contemporaries and whatnot. Not just seinens, but just battle manga, battle anime in general. It's just so good. Like, the writing, the development, the story. The story's so compelling. The characters are so awesome. And just the theme of the show. I don't know, it's just so original. But at the same time, not original, because it has standard tropes and whatnot. But the whole aspect of Saitama, the world that he lives in, it's just so damn interesting. And like the way that One is able to make it genuinely funny, not like corny or like forced jokes or anything. Like, it is genuinely funny, but super cool at the same time. Like, he's able to find such a great line between comedy and action and drama at the same time. There's a lot of very compelling dramatic aspects to this series as well. And then it could just easily just flip over to being cool, then flip over to being funny, and then go back and forth. It's just very unique, and like I said, so well done. Like, I can't praise One Punch Man enough, obviously. But it's just a really, really strong series. And I feel that, I mean, it's justified because it's held in extremely high regard. I mean, even take a look at Bill Burr's video when he talks about One Punch Man. You know something's pretty good if Bill Burr even praises it, despite it being an anime. Kobi R asks, so this is coming after watching your Murata Hint video regarding Saitama's source of power. How do you feel about the obsession theory? A lot of heroes and villains in One Punch Man will get powered up according to their obsession. Crablante, Vaccine Man, the car monster, forgot its name. It's like MKZ113, I don't know, something like that. And most people who eat monster cells too. This might be God's doing, or it may not, but I do feel it plays an important role. Saitama wanted to get stronger than any monster. Garou wanted to be the strongest monster. And that makes Saitama the winner by default. Do you think that theory holds water? Also, do bananas play a role? Keep up the good work. Thank you, Kobe. And bananas do definitely play a role in real life as well. They're very tasty and a nice snack and a good alternative to eating candy or something like that. But anyway, so unfortunately, I don't feel that this theory holds water, although it is possible, of course, because nothing is set in stone yet. But I'm simply just saying that because of the whole expositional thing that Dr. Genus gives in Chapter 88, when he's explaining monstrification, why the S-Class heroes are powerful, and why Saitama is powerful. Like, he specifically says that monstrification, what we're talking about here with the obsession and how they became powerful according to that, is different from removing one's limiter. And he even goes further in saying that the potential and the natural inherent talent that the S-Class heroes have is also different from what Saitama is going through here. Now, granted, Saitama does have an obsession. There's no doubt about that. That's what led him to become so powerful, but it's not the same kind of obsession that caused an abnormal cellular reaction in these individuals like Crablante. Vaccine Man, he's more supernatural based because he came from God, but like Crablante monsters like him, the car guy. But as we're like Darkshine, he just trained really hard, lifting weights and whatever else he was doing. But he had the natural inherent talent to become as strong as he was. At least it's implied so. Same with the other ones, but Saitama removing his limiter was simply different. But him obsessing over it and pushing himself to that point definitely allowed him to remove his limiter. But it wasn't the obsession itself that brought him to it. It wasn't the idea that forced him to do it. It was simply the act of actually doing it. Just feel free to reread Chapter 88, specifically the part when Dr. Genus is talking to Zombie Man he makes a clear distinction between these two things. Legandaryus asks, hey Shonen, do you think young Bang could have fought in the Tournament of Power and did great, or would Awakened Garou do better than Bang? So unfortunately, even Prime Bang would probably not do great in the Tournament of Power, and it's simply because the characters that participate in it, and more so the ones that do great, are unfairly powerful. Like, whenever you hear, like, Dragon Ball Super getting talked about, you hear terms like Galaxy Buster or Universe Buster being thrown around, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not. We don't really have a lot of evidence to go off of that stuff, because we don't really see feats like that being portrayed in the series. It's more so just like, oh, well, in Dragon Ball Z, this character was this strong. So, granted, if you keep going up, then they're going to get this stronger. And then we do have some context from when Goku is fighting Beerus, when they're talking about if they keep fighting, they'll destroy the universe, yada, yada, yada. And then you just keep going on like, okay, so if SSG is this strong, then if you keep going up, then Beerus is that strong. And then naturally, the characters in the Tournament of Power, if you cross-correlate them, are probably all, like, at the minimum, planet busters. I don't know. I'm not saying every single participant in the Tournament of Power can bust a planet. It really remains to be seen, but I'm sure most of them can at the minimum. And I don't feel like Prime Bang is a planet buster. Maybe he's close to that strength. You know, we can only really speculate on how strong he is. But, you know, like I said, I compare him to, like, Awakened Garou, so let's just throw him in there, too. He'll probably do just as well as Prime Bang would in the Tournament of Power. While they're very strong, very fast, very durable, for One Punch Man, and granted, most other battle mangas, it's just, Dragon Ball Super is a little too much. Especially for these characters, but all of the other series, more or less, they're just, absurdly unfairly powerful. Mizar asks, or Mizar, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Hi Shonen, I just recently joined your Patreon after watching as much as your content as possible. I think what you're doing is great and keeps me coming back for more. Hey, thank you so much, Mizar. I really appreciate you checking out my stuff and deciding to support me. That really means a lot. So thank you again. I was wondering, we've seen that Tatsumaki and Fubuki are sisters and have similar Esper abilities, albeit Tats seems to have taken the cake in terms of raw power. Along that line of thinking, do you suppose that Metal Bat's sister Zenko possesses powers similar to this? This may be a bit of a stretch, but she showed quite a bit of speed, being able to interpose herself between Bat and Garou fast enough to stop either's attack. I suppose there might simply not be enough information at this point, but I was still curious as to your opinion. Thanks so much for answering the question, and keep up the good work. Thanks again, Mizar, and this is awesome. I never really thought about this, but you really pose a great question here, and it makes sense. And I think other people kind of think what you're thinking too, because when I went to the wiki to get a picture for Zenko, I just was like, I looked under like her thing where it says like race, gender, and then abilities caught my eye, and it says abilities enhance speed and reflexes, and I was like, okay, wait a second. And I scrolled down the wiki, and it's like physical abilities. Zenko's surprisingly fast, that she was able to intervene between Garou and Metal Bat before they were able to clash, and then it's like enhanced leap. She's capable of jumping fairly high for a child, as shown when she jumped to reach the top of her brother's head. And then enhanced strength. Zenko can easily hold a flower bouquet that is almost twice as big as her brother with one hand. And and we see like the manga on the wiki page. We see the manga panel of her holding like that huge bouquet. I think this is probably tongue in cheek, or maybe they are being literal here on the wiki page, but regardless of that, the feat of her moving in between Garou and Metal Bat is pretty impressive. I don't know if it was implied to be like this is her being powerful, or more so it was just a device to stop the fight, you know, in its tracks. But the line of thinking between Tatsumaki and Fubuki having similar abilities and one getting the better talent of the other, and also, you know, just how battle manga is in general, with siblings generally having the same kind of power, I think it's fair to say that Zenko probably has fighting spirit, or just enhanced durability and strength. I mean, why not? If Metal Bat has it, she probably has it too. And this is pretty cool to think about. I never really thought about it, but it makes sense. And whenever I talk about like the future of One Punch Man and where the story is headed, I don't really see it going too far into the future. So it's possible that we'll never see the potential of Zenko, given that I think the story is probably only going to go like to 6 months, maybe a little more than that. I don't think it's going to go many years to the future. So unless we see it like in a bonus chapter or something, it's probably going to be speculation at this point. And like you said, there's not enough information, but I really do think it makes sense that she probably has it because, you know, like Metal Bat has it, so why wouldn't she? Paxson D asks, favorite chapter from this year? God, I love the Neon versus all the heroes. Can't wait to see Drive Night in action. Hope you've had a good week. See you next time. Hey, I hope you've had a good week too, Paxson. And I'll have your video request out soon. I'm just waiting for the conclusion of chapter 118 before I finally come up with what I want to do with that one. So as for my favorite chapter this year, let me also point out that this isn't what I feel the best chapter is. I'm going to be talking about that in December. What I feel my favorite is, the one I enjoyed the most, definitely chapter 101. Zombie Man's chapter. God, I love that chapter so much. It's so awesome. And I keep coming back time and time again to reread it just because of how much fun it is. And it's so cool. And it really gave Zombie Man the spotlight that he deserves, honestly. I hope somebody like colors that chapter eventually. I'd love to see that color like in its total, completely colored. I think that would be amazing. But yeah, that chapter, man. I mean, you know, 106, 108, there's plenty of awesome chapters this year, don't get me wrong, but I enjoyed 101 the most personally. Like, that was so cool seeing Zombie Man do all of the cool stuff that he does. It was just so stylized, so well done. Real One asks, Zonin, congratulations on making it past your YouTube strike. I'm glad your channel thrived and is rising to 40,000. Sorry I wasn't there for a few months and had to take a break. I'm back and I'm glad to be supporting. Hey, thank you so much, Real One. I really appreciate you supporting me at all, regardless of if it's now or then. I just appreciate you coming back, and thank you for the kind words, my friend. I really do appreciate it. I have another One Piece content question. I was going to talk about an X-Drake theory, but about chapter 956. Might disprove it. I'll save it for next week. My question today, I want to talk about hockey. Armament and observation hockey have a lot of application, but Conqueror hockey is still being revealed. We know a lot of people can use Conqueror hockey, but it's the initial stage with Shockwave and knocking people out. But we haven't seen anyone use advanced Conqueror's hockey or combine it with Devil Fruit skill techniques or martial arts. What if you could learn to control and improve your Conqueror's hockey to the next form, which is using your hockey to support and defend your allies? Rayleigh showed how with control he could target who he wanted to knock out because they had weaker wills. But what if you could shield someone from a move like this or improve their resistance? Example, in the war, if Kaido or Big Mom could use their Conqueror hockey on their allies, they could increase their allies' stats, hockey, or resistance to a Conqueror hockey shockwave from an enemy. So this is a good question. And I feel like we are definitely going to go into the advanced stages of Conqueror's hockey in the next arc. Probably not this one. And I say that because, like, if we're going in the progression of the Yonkos, because we're in the Yonko saga after all, we saw that in Totland, Big Mom, you know, her whole portion of the story, that was focused on observation hockey. You know, that's where Luffy developed that, and it was further expanded upon and stuff, and we saw the further stages of it. And now that we're in Wano, Kaido, we're seeing the advanced stages of armament hockey and the Ryo and the hockey push and all that stuff. So I feel that when we go to the next Yonko, which is probably going to be Shanks, that's when we're going to go to the Conqueror's hockey stuff. Because we know that he's like probably the most adept at Conqueror's hockey right now, or at least it's implied that he is. So I'm sure that Shanks is probably going to help Luffy with that in one way or another, maybe willingly or inadvertently or something. Maybe he shows him or somebody shows him, I don't know. I definitely feel like it's going to come next in the next arc. Probably not this one, but it is possible that Conqueror's hockey could be used as a buff for other people, like you said. Because Rayleigh says, he says something like, the people who have been affected by Conqueror's hockey feel it after they wake up. They feel like chills or something like that. So there is some kind of residual effect to it, and it's possible that it could be used in a support, like it aids them rather than knocking them unconscious, you know? So it is likely that this could happen. But if Kaido and Big Mom could do this, I don't feel that they would use it on their allies. You know, they seem really self-centered. Something like maybe Kaido, maybe he would use it on the Calamities. He's more, he has more camaraderie than Big Mom, but I don't think Big Mom would use it. Like, she didn't give a damn about her kids or anything. The first chance she got, she even started like disrespecting the hell out of Katakuri, and she freaking ate her son in the beginning of that arc. I forget his name because he came and went so fast, but maybe Kaido would use it. But as for what I feel the future of Conqueror's Haki is, I feel like it's just going to be able to push these characters to the next level of power. Not just Luffy and them, but just overall it's going to bring One Piece's power scale to the next level as to where they're going to be able to do like crazy stuff, like maybe Dragon Ball Z possible stuff, like because like we saw that Shanks when he got on board Whitebeard's ship, like his Conqueror's Haki like could crack a portion, like a little part of that ship. So I feel like if he's really trying, like if a Conqueror Haki master is really trying, he could probably just use it to like blow buildings apart, you know, something like that. And also like when we see two Conqueror Haki users clash, there's like that crazy lightning that comes out of it, like when Luffy was colliding with Katakuri and Doflamingo. So I'm sure that they could probably replicate that stuff on their own to where they could just do crazy like next level power like blast stuff, like beyond what the Ryu Armament Haki stuff is. Also, I feel like the way that Roger was able to take out Shiki and his whole fleet in the Ed War was probably with Conqueror's Haki. Like, it's unexplained at this point, and people think it was probably just luck, but I think probably the highest stage of Conqueror's Haki, which we could assume Roger had, I mean, it's not confirmed that he has Conqueror's Haki at this point, but come on, he's freaking Pirate King, he probably has it. He probably used Conqueror's Haki to make that whole tsunami, whatever it was, the whole tides change. Like, he could just affect the weather. Because we've also seen, like, when Whitebeard and Shanks collided, along with Big Mom and Kaido collided, like, the friggin' clouds split, the weather changed. So I'm sure Conqueror Haki at the highest level can just, like, change the weather or change stuff like that, and can cause like entire pirate fleets to just capsize and from the force of the power that they're able to manipulate. Steven asks, Marhaba! Hey, marhaba to you too, Steven. If Saitama were to lose his powers, do you think Genos would stay with him? Keep up the good work, dude. Hey, thanks a lot, Steven. I appreciate it. So I feel that in this scenario, Genos would stay with him at first, for sure. He would be like, you know, there's a way we can get it back. I'll do whatever I have to be able to find a way to get your powers back. I won't give up. We can find a way to do it. But then if in this specific scenario, it's inevitable that he's not going to get his powers back and they're just gone forever, I feel like over time, Genos would definitely leave him. Maybe he would keep in touch with him because they are friends. I mean, more or less. I mean, they do have a bond for sure. But I don't think he's going to look up to Saitama anymore. He's definitely not going to go to him for advice or see him as a mentor or anything. He's probably going to move on to the next person who's going to be able to help him in that department and probably drift away from Saitama eventually. Genos is a good guy, don't get me wrong, but he probably, you know, his morals are questionable at times for sure. He's definitely altruistic and he is a good hero, but I feel like if this were to happen, he definitely wouldn't be 100% faithful to him. At least not for an extended period of time. Zapphod B asks, how would you rank the original warlords from One Piece in terms of power? So this is a good question. Very difficult to answer because it's super subjective as always. So I'll give my best answer to this. So one, Mihawk for sure. I mean, come on. I think most of us are in agreement that Mihawk is easily the strongest warlord. And then number two, this one's kind of difficult. And I want to put Kuma here, honestly, but we just don't have enough information on Kuma, and there's too much to speculate about him. So for now, I'll just put Daffy here because he has the most feats next to the other ones, and he's shown the most outrageous levels of power. I mean, he has freaking Conqueror's Haki, and the stuff that he was doing with his Awakened Devil Fruit at the end of Dressrosa was really unfair, in my opinion. It made him a little too powerful, but that's fine. So Daffy number two, and then number three, Jinbei. I feel like he's solid number three here. He's pretty ridiculously powerful. I mean, he's up there with, you know, I think Luffy. I mean, maybe not right now, but at one point, it was debatable, like, if Luffy and Jinbei were at the same level or around the same level. I mean, it's pretty impressive what he was able to do to Big Mom, you know, when he was defending against her, when they were running away from her. Now, regardless of how effective it was, or regardless of how effective Jinbei was in the Summit War, which, you know, come on, he was dealing with Akainu after all, but still, Jinbei's pretty damn powerful. I feel like he probably should have a higher bounty than he does, or maybe it will be recalculated eventually, but for Kuma. So I want to put Kuma here because I feel that he shouldn't be any lower than this. I really feel that Kuma is probably one of the strongest warlords. Just one of the strongest, like, commander level dudes in general. His fruit alone is insane. It's like one of the best fruits. Now, we don't really know much anything else about him, really. We don't know what his hockey's like, as far as I know. But his speed's pretty insane because, you know, the way that he was able to avoid the Straw Hats at the end of Thriller Bark, and not to mention that whole thing where he was able to interject between Rayleigh and Kizaru, that was insane. Maybe that was aided by his upgrades from Vegapunk, but regardless, he was one of the commanders of the Revolutionary Army, so that's very telling of his power. But damn, that fruit is just so good. Then at 5, Crocodile. I have a lot of faith in Crocodile. Granted, he was defeated by pre-time skip Luffy, but I think that was more plot-induced, and also, you know, Luffy found the weakness to him, but Croc has friggin' Sand Logia. Very powerful. He could do a lot of things that the other Logias can't do. And also, he had a pretty good performance in the Summit War. And he had no fear at all. And he also defeated Luffy like twice before Luffy was finally able to win. And like I said, that was all plot stuff. So I'm not really too down on Crocodile. I have a lot of faith in him, and I feel like he's way more powerful than what most of the fandom believes that he is. Number 6, Hancock. She's solid, very powerful too. Great fruit. She has freaking Conqueror's Haki. She has a lot of good feats too. So I feel that she's probably, you know, towards the bottom here. But no pushover. None of them are. And then 7, Moria. Moria's past his prime. A lot of his power comes from him, relying on absorbing all of the shadows, and that was pretty powerful what he was able to do. But more or less, he hasn't really impressed me that much. Now, he's probably going to join Blackbeard's crew, or maybe he's already confirmed to be on there, but I'm sure we're going to see more from Moria. But I just feel like he's one of the weaker ones in this group. And like I said about the others, no pushover. Definitely Warlord for sure, but not the strongest. You know what I mean? And then, if Child Emperor built Metal Bat, a bat that could nullify the gravity of things that it strikes, would this be a useful power-up or not? Thanks, Shonen. Have a great one. Hey, thanks, Zapphod. I hope you have a great one, too. And this would be insane if Child Emperor could somehow develop this technology and give it to Metal Bat. So if what I'm thinking, what you're saying here, is that he would essentially be able to hit someone, and then they would have no longer gravity to them, so they would just, like fly away, essentially. So I'm assuming this is like going to be similar to like what Shiki's fruit from One Piece is like, or maybe even Uraraka's quirk from My Hero. And a good example of this, if this is true, when Uraraka had that ball throwing test in like one of the first early chapters, or in season 1 of My Hero. When she applied her quirk to the ball, she just threw it essentially off the planet. Like, it was implied that it would just left the world because it just kept going and going and going. So if Metal Bat could have the same effect as somebody that he hit, in theory, I guess he can knock people off the world, right? He just knock them into space, essentially, which would be insane. I mean, at the minimum, he's knocking them miles and miles and miles away, which is still insane. And they're eventually going to hit the ground, I suppose, or maybe, or they'll just keep floating. Not really sure, but regardless, this would make Metal Bat insane. Almost, if not overpowered at this point. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 72 of my incredible patrons. I cannot thank you enough for supporting me and continuing to do so the way that you are. I love you guys, so thank you again. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply just check out my Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.